The generation of the flood was guilty of four main crimes. A. Marrying people they weren't allowed to. B. Murder. C. Idol worship. And D. Stealing. The one that sealed their fate, however, was the sin of stealing. Although the generation was wicked, a tzaddik by the name of Noach lived in those days. Noach and his wife, Na'amah, which means pleasant, had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Yafet. As the generation was so corrupt, Hashem decided to destroy the world through a flood. Hashem commanded Noach to build a teva to save himself, his family, and representatives of the animals from the impending flood. The dimensions of the teva were 300 amot long, 50 amot wide, and 30 amot high, an amah being the length from one's elbow to tip of middle finger. The top of the teva sloped upwards until there was a roof of only 1 amah. On the top floor people lived, on the middle floor were the animals, and the bottom floor was the garbage. From the kosher animals, Noach brought in 7 males and 7 females. Some hold there were 3 males and 3 females, plus 1 extra, which was to be used for a korban. From the non-kosher animals, Noach took 1 male and 1 female. Aside from the 8 passengers, which were the 4 couples in the teva, there was 1 guest on the teva, which was the giant Og. The flood was delayed for 7 days, for the oldest man ever, Metushelach, who was a tzaddik, died at the age of 969, would not experience the flood. After 120 years of building the teva, the flood began. Rain came pouring down for 40 days and 40 nights. It began on the 17th day of Cheshvan and ended on the 27th day of Kislev. Even though the rain stopped falling, the springs from the ground continued to flood the earth for a total of 150 days. The height of the waters of the Mabul reached 15 amot above the tallest mountains. After the water stopped, they went down until on the first day of Av, the tops of the mountains became visible. The teva settled on Hare Ararat. Noach then waited 40 days and sent a raven out of the teva to search for livable land. The raven refused to leave the teva to search. Instead, it just circled around and around. 7 days later, Noach sent a dove out of the teva and searched for livable land. The dove returned, since the ground was still covered with water. Noach waited another 7 days to send it out again. This time it returned with an olive leaf in its mouth. After 7 more days, Noach sent the dove out again, and it did not return. Even though the earth was no longer covered by water, it was soft and muddy. Only by the 27th of Cheshvan, exactly 1 solar year from when it began, was the earth completely dry. Hashem promised Noach that he would not destroy the whole world, and gave the rainbow as a sign. The beracha made upon seeing a rainbow is Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, zocher haberit, b'ne'eman bivrito, v'kayam b'ma'amaro. The first plant that Noach planted when he came out of the teva was a grapevine. He was criticized for doing this, since he should have planted something that the world really needed, like grain. From those grapes, Noach was able to make wine on that very day. Unfortunately, he got drunk and lowered himself from his great level. His son Ham saw him in an embarrassing situation, and thinking it was funny, told his brothers. Shem and Yefet came in and covered their father. When Noach realized what happened, he cursed Ham that his son Canaan's family should be slaves, and he gave brachot to Shem and Yafet. Years later, a wicked king, who ruled over the world named Nimrod, which means, "Come, let's rebel," led the world in a rebellion against God. In an area, which was later called Babel, they built a huge tower as an attempt to fight against God. The name Babel means mix up. As a punishment, Hashem mixed up their language and scattered them. This generation is known as Dor HaPelaga. The world continued to sink in Ruchniut until Abraham Avinu was born. There were 10 generations between Noach and Abraham. Abraham Avinu's father Terach had 3 sons, Nachor, Abraham, and Haran. Haran died in the Kivshana Esh, the fiery furnace of the king Nimrod, since he did not have full emunah in Hashem. Abraham Avinu took in Haran's children, Sarai and Lot, and he himself married Sarai. Abraham Avinu and his family, including his father Terach, headed towards Eretz Canaan, but settled along the way in Haran. At this time, Avraham Avinu was 70 years old. For the next 5 years, Avraham Avinu traveled back and forth, spreading to the world belief in Hashem.